Okay. So if anybody has questions, the method is to use the hand symbol. Okay, so I see two already. So the first one is Gita. And again, I have to I have to say, please keep questions concise, direct, and to the point. If anybody wants to give a lecture, I'm willing to step down and to join the audience and let okay. Okay. So Gita,
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you for all your teachings.
okay.
My question is on this anatha, non-self, Bhante.
Yeah.
I know that we are training to give up the non-self, but I want to find out because we live in a conventional life, right? With
Yeah.
labeling of names. So how do you, it's a very fine line
Yeah.
to practice. How do you manage, like, what's the best way of managing that? Like knowing that ultimately we have to let go of the aggregates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need the aggregates as our vehicle to travel to nibbana.
Yeah, of course, that is the case. And in one's everyday life, one has to sort of operate at the conventional level, take care of yourself, take care of your family, do your work at your job. But you could say that the benefit of doing the contemplation of non-self pertains not only to the ultimate goal of of obtaining liberation, but also when you do the contemplation of anatta, of non-self, it helps to reduce, let's say, clinging and conceit. So one doesn't cling to things, doesn't cling to possessions. It will foster an attitude of generosity, of kindness, of compassion, because one is able to sort of break out from one's narrow sense of sort of the prison of self identity and also be able to share in the a concern for the well-being and happiness of others, and so it makes one more kinder and more compassionate. Maybe it will become a plank in Venerable Saranapala's, what does he call it,
Uh-huh.
kindfulness program,
Kindfulness. Yes.
and it reduces, let's say, ego conceit.
Yeah, that's the
So
biggest thing.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that one is not so much concerned with particularly things like praise and blame,
Right.
honor and dishonor, gain and loss,
And titles, right?
titles as designations.
Yeah.
Though I have to say that it used to strike me as a bit ironic that in Sri Lanka, where the monks are formally committed to the doctrine of non-self, but they always like to have these big titles.
Yes, they do.
I remember sometimes meeting a monk and he gives me his name card and it is president of this association, spiritual advisor to that association, director of this project, all of it on one little name card.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Okay, next will be Chris.
All right. Thank you, Bhante. And thank you very, very, from the bottom of my heart about this retreat. I haven't been to all of it, but it's been a very, I don't think it's too much to say. It's really been kind of life-changing. And I thought the best was this tonight, 2:00 one. And if anyone missed it, they really should check this out. It was a tremendously profound experience. And basically it was the meditation was, we're not the mind, we're not the body, we're not our emotions, we're not this and that.
Yeah,
And kind of left feeling, and what are we? And then that was kind of answered to some extent at the end when you contrasted those things that are sort of what we're not
yeah,
with nibbana,
Yeah.
which so the implication, I think, is that we are nibbana, or we are sort of one with the heavenly realm, or I'm still a little puzzled by, like, if we're not these things, and are we sort of one with nibbana? Or I wonder if you could just sort of elaborate on that a
Yeah,
little
the
bit.
Buddhist texts, they never use that kind of terminology, because to say that one is one with nibbana in a way almost presupposes that there is a self that is one with nibbana. But let's just say that with the complete relinquishment of all sort of attachment to all standpoints of self, the relinquishment of all I making, mind making, and conceit, then there comes the realization or the attainment of nibbana. But the texts or early Buddhism, it doesn't posit a kind of the word ontological.
Mm,
It means sort of of the philosophy of
being.
being. Yeah. So the early Buddhist texts, they don't posit an ontological identity between the person and nibbana, but they
So
just it
it's
works
kind of experiential,
very much
and
experiential, pragmatic, and what's the word that I'm looking for? Maybe phenomenological.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe
thank you, Bhante.
pragmatic is good. Looking at things from a sort of
Pragmatis.
practical, experiential standpoint. When you completely uproot all of the different modes of self-identification, of taking oneself to be this or that, then there comes the realization, the attainment of nibbana.
Yeah,
And then
thank you.
nibbana is like the ultimate reality, but it's not that nibbana is, or that is a self within that is identical with nibbana. The texts just don't use that kind of language.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Okay, next will be Kilaya.
Thank you, Bhante. I've benefited a lot from your walking meditation instructions, and I was hoping today that we would get one specific to non-self. Do you give instructions specific to walking meditation related to non-self? Because we learned the permanency, and we learned volition, intention. Is there one that you give for non-self?
I see. I thought actually I thought this one was supposed to be for sort of pointing in the direction of non-self, since when what is taking place, what one is doing in this practice is one is looking at the act of walking. Usually we think when people come on, then your box on my screen, it jumps. I'm looking at the left corner. Then things change, and now you're in the right corner. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we usually, when we engage in any activity, we think, I am doing it. I am the doer. I am the actor. I am the agent. I am the speaker. So with the walking meditation, what one is doing is looking at the act of walking as just this interplay of intention, that is the intention to take each step, which is a mental act, and then the movement of the body, which is a physical act. And so one sees how a mental act is the condition for the physical act. And so the action of walking is just a series of occasions by which the thought of taking the step arises, and then it moves the body in certain ways so that the body then takes the step, and there's no self behind the action, which is directing the act of walking or experiencing the act of walking, but it's just this interplay of conditionality, of mental activity and physical activity.
I guess, yeah, I guess I missed out because I was identifying with the intention. I saw the intention, the volition to continue to walk,
Yeah,
but there was the option to identify with it that I took.
yeah,
And you're saying that I could have chosen not to identify with that intention and just seen it from a neutral standpoint. But of course, if I could see my mind from a neutral standpoint, I would be quite advanced, right? That would be
not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily imply a high level of attainment. In fact, when you say this now, it makes me realize that when I gave the instructions, I should have said, I should have added that you should be viewing the act of walking just as this interplay of acts of intention and the physical act of walking, realizing that there is no self which is activating the process and undertaking the action, that is just this interplay, we say, of nama rupa, of mental activity and physical activity. And I think, we just had like one session of 20, 25 minutes of doing the walking. But if one does it in that particular mode, like over an extended period, maybe, well, it could be like a half an hour of walking, but throughout the day, say if one is doing alternating sitting meditation and walking meditation, doing the walking meditation in that mode, as the attention becomes stronger and more refined, then one comes to see sort of at subtler levels how the act of walking is just this interplay of mental activity, of volition or intention, and the acts of walking. And the way we did it and the way I learned it in Sri Lanka, I didn't want to do this because this can only be done maybe like in a retreat setting. But the way my teacher taught me, let me see if I could get it. Let's just do it with 3 phases. Okay, picking, pushing, placing. So first you form the intention to pick up the foot, then you pick it up, then the intention to bring the foot forward, to push it forward, and then you push the foot forward. Then the intention to put the foot down, then you put it down, placing. So in this way, in one step, there are 6 phases: the intention, the picking, the intention, the pushing, the intention, the placing. Yeah, but the way he taught it in Sri Lanka, I think there were 6 phases in the walking, and each one with its intention, so it becomes like 12 phases within one step. So, but you could only do this like after you've been doing it Corso levels for about a week or so. Otherwise, you start tripping and falling as you're walking. Okay, so we come to the further questions. So now I see Chin Chin.
Thank you, Bhante. I wanted to ask you, when you were saying the intention and then, because I was trying to differentiate between the daytime walking instruction that you gave, which was a 3-phase,
Yeah,
picking, pushing, placing,
yeah.
and the afternoon one where the intention thing comes before we do the action. So what is the purpose of that intention before we do something, as to opposed to that 3-phase without the intention?
Yeah, well, basically, the reason for bringing in the intention aspect was so that we could see, in a way, this connects with my answer to Kilaya's question, the the the, the intention of that mode of practice, the purpose, is to be able to see how the act of walking is this interplay of the mental activity and the physical activity, to see how the two go together as a pair. And yeah, and it makes one more, it also increases or sharpens the mindfulness, because now we could see that there's a mental factor involved in taking the act of walking. And in fact, like when we go into like a retreat situation, after a few days of like regular practice, then usually the instruction given is, before taking any action, notice the intention and then the action. So even something like brushing your teeth, you have to make the intention, you notice the intention of, say, picking up the toothbrush, then picking up the tube of toothpaste, and then you pick it up, then intention to press the tube, pressing, then intention to put the toothpaste onto the toothbrush, then you put the toothpaste onto the toothbrush, then you notice the intention to brush the teeth, then you put the toothbrush to the mouth, then intention to move the toothbrush. And so you start seeing, very, very, in very, very detail, this interplay of intentionality and action.
So is it like more refined mindfulness?
Yeah, I would say it's more refined. Yeah.
Okay. And how is it connected to the selfless
To the non-self.
non-self? Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it
Well, I think this is what I explained in my answer to Kilaya, that
yeah.
it brings out how actions that we ordinarily think, I am the doer, I am the one who's doing this.
Okay.
This is my action. But one sees that there's no self behind the process. It's just a mental activity of intention followed by the bodily action of, in this case, walking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I want to let you know my experience of the non-self today in the meditation.
Yeah.
I had really severe back pain. I
Really
couldn't
severe what?
back pain.
Back pain. Oh, back pain.
Yeah. And I couldn't sit to do the meditation. But this afternoon when I did the non-self meditation
Yeah.
with your guidance,
Yeah.
my back pain got relief,
Ah,
which
that's good.
I'm very obviously happy and
Hmm.
feel like it's something maybe that I have to do more, because we get too detached or attached to our body and all the stress, and maybe this will help to release the stress and letting go, I think, in a way.
Yeah, it can be very helpful, even though it might not completely get rid of physical pain as
Oh
such,
yeah,
but it helps to detach one, well, let us say, to reduce the mental stress, anxiety, and worry and other concerns that arise around physical pain, so that you contemplate that the pain is not mine, not
yes,
something
yes.
happening to me, but it is
Mm.
just an experience, just an experience.
And what would you advise for someone who has back pain that they can't sit long for meditation? I mean, because normally we kind of like say we need to sit up straight and not lean on something, but in a situation where it's unbearable to sit, is there any other posture that you could suggest?
Well, I would say if you have a backrest, usually I say don't lean back on a backrest, but try to sit
Mm,
up on your own. But if you have the problem with back pain and you find that it makes it easier to lean back on a backrest, then do so. Don't
mm-hmm.
you don't have to torture yourself with the practice, but find anything that helps you to maintain a good sitting posture.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, we could take, oh, okay, yeah, one more question we'll take then. This is Xiaolan.
Thank you, Bhante. During the walking meditation, I found myself walking a little awkwardly, because when you walk naturally,
Yeah,
as soon as your left heel hit the ground, your right heel automatically
yeah,
lifts
yeah,
up.
yeah,
And so if I have to separate the intention, I am basically like trying to keep my heel on the ground before and make sure my intention goes first before I lift that up. And
yeah.
so it's kind of awkward that way. And then, but just now when you were answering previous questions, it suddenly occurred to me, because in the Chinese Chan tradition, when we do slow walking meditation, we were taught to make sure our toes hit the ground first. So then it's in a way it's actually less awkward if we have to separate the intention, because you just do 1 foot at a time.
Yeah.
And the heel doesn't automatically rise up.
Yeah.
So that's the solution to that awkward.
Yeah,
awkwardness.
it's a little awkward, but you're walking in the privacy of your own living quarters. Yeah, don't do this if you're out on the street at Times Square or trying to catch a subway train or walking on the subway station.
Uh-huh.
People will think you're a weirdo. But
Right.
if you're walking in a quiet, well, actually, when you do it this way, you have to complete one step before you take the next step.
Right.
So don't do this when you're out on the street.
Right.
But you could just walk mindfully out on the street. And even once you get actually some experience with this, you could actually, even walking at a moderate pace, you could still see the operation of the intention going along with the physical act of walking. But you don't have to pause before taking each step. But you can walk along at a slow, normal pace and see, at least from time to time, you see intentions coming up.
Right.
So it's not, broken down into each step individually, but you're just seeing this rapid interplay of intention and physical action.
Okay. And I have another question about the 5 aggregates. So for me, the consciousness part is that somehow easier than perception and volitional action, because like when you do the consciousness, I think it's like just this whole thing is not I, not myself. But perception and volitional action, do you wait till the thought arises to identify it as not I, not myself, or you just constantly think not I, not myself?
Say that again. I didn't quite catch.
Yeah. So for the when we do the 5 aggregates meditation, for the consciousness part, it's just like I just identify all of this awareness of myself as not I, not myself, right?
Yeah.
But when we do the perception or volitional action, you wait till a thought arises before you identify it as that way, or you still constantly think, not because it kind of feels like mechanical, that I was just constantly chanting not I, not myself.
Yeah.
Instead of identifying a particular thought that's not I, not myself. Yeah, so my question is, do you wait till a particular thought arises before you identify it, or you are thinking the whole thing is?
Yeah, what I would do is what I do is like to focus on a particular aggregate, and then you look at that particular aspect of mental functioning. For example, if I want to do feeling, then I just focus in on feeling using that label or that designation, this not mine, not I, not myself. And it's sort of operating quietly in the background. It's not that I'm forcefully thinking, not I, not mine, not mine, not I, not myself. But I'm just sort of watching the stream of feelings with a sort of background realization, not
Okay.
mine, or just letting go. Then if I want to do perception, then since I'm not perceiving anything externally, I just look at the stream of ideas arising, ideation,
Uh-huh.
and just realizing not mine, not I, not myself.
Okay, so it's not exactly wait till the thought arise and
Yeah,
identify it that
yeah,
way. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
watching the thoughts themselves.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, before now, since we've been sitting about close to 30 minutes, why don't we do like 10 minutes of, again, the walking meditation in that way of intention, step, intention, step. Anybody who wasn't here in the afternoon, I'll just explain this very briefly. So we're not going to be breaking the step down into phases like picking, pushing, placing, but just you take the whole step at once. But what you do before you take each step, you bring to mind, or you become aware of the intention. You become mindful of the intention. So I'm going to take the right step. I become aware of intention to take the right step. Then I take the right step, being mindful of the step while I'm taking it. The next, I become mindful of the intention to take the left step. Then I take the left step. Then again, the right step, left step. Then you come to the end of the walkway. You become mindful of the intention of stopping. Then you stop. Then you become mindful of the intention to turn. And then you turn. Usually it's like in 3 steps or so. You step one, turn two, turn three. Then you're standing facing the starting point. Then mindful of or intention to take the step. Then you take the step. Mindful of the intention to take the left step. Then you take the left step. Okay, so we'll do this for about 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, come back to your seat. I'll sound the gong as a reminder. And then we'll do a short but very focused method or session of the sitting meditation for non-self. Okay, everybody should be back in their seat. Okay, we want to do another short but concentrated session of the arousing or generating the perception of anatta, of non-self. And this is sort of the way, a concentrated way of doing this contemplation that I've worked out just sort of while experimenting on my own. We're not going to sort of break up the experience deliberately into the 5 aggregates, but first we start briefly sort of contemplating the body as anatta, as non-self. And then we're going to, well, I'll direct it I'll guide it as we go through the contemplation, through the practice. Okay, so take your comfortable, congenial sitting position. And first settle the mind, which we'll just do a minute or so of mindfulness of breathing. And then you take in this, what I call the global sense of the body, a comprehensive felt sense of the body in its entirety. And if you find it helpful, you could do a few sweepings through the body from the head all the ways down to the feet. Just like dropping a bucket of water on the head and the water flows down the whole body. So inside the body, you use your mindfulness to sweep through the whole body. And then come back to the global sense of the whole body. And then when applies to the body, the contemplation, this body is not mine, not I, not myself. Keep on going through the body, using that formula. Sort of let the mindfulness sink always deeper and deeper into the body. And as it goes through, the mindfulness goes through the body, sweeps through the body. You could just simply use the words, not mine, not I, not myself. Okay, now the concise way of doing the anatta sanya with regard to the mind. We don't break the mind up into the aggregates, but you just focus in on the flow of consciousness or the flow of mental activity, contemplating the mind as a whole, just as not mine, not I, not myself. If any thoughts arise, whatever thoughts arise, again, you just label them not mine, not I, not myself, and let them go. Any distinctive feelings like moods, sorrow, joy, whatever, just not mine, not I. Don't even use the nuts. You don't have to use not self, just not mine, not I, not mine, not I, and let it go. Like any plans arise, ideas about plans, again, you just label not mine, not I. Whatever thoughts arise, not mine, not I. Okay, so just drop in now. We do this for about 10 minutes in silence. Yeah, just like you might be watching a movie or television program. So now you're watching the flow of the mind. You're not focusing or fixing on anything specific, just watching the flow of mental activities. And whatever arises, you just label it or stamp it, not mine, not I, and let it go. And then also, then you bend, this is a little tricky, but you bend the awareness back on the mind that is labeling the experience as not mine, not I, not myself. And you recognize that those designating thoughts, not mine, not I, not myself, are just thoughts as well, which are not mine, not I, not myself. Okay, then I'm going to briefly connect this contemplation of anatta with the recollection of the unconditioned. Okay, so these five aggregates, which are not self, are conditioned phenomena. Nibbana is the unconditioned, not made by causes and conditions. These five aggregates are disintegrating, breaking up and perishing. Nibbana is the imperishable, the everlasting, the stable. These five aggregates are deceptive. The Buddha compares them to mirage, to water bubbles, to a lump of foam, to a magical illusion. Nibbana, the deathless, is the parama satya, the supreme truth. The five aggregates are subject to old age. Nibbana is the unaging. The five aggregates are subject to death. Nibbana is the deathless. The five aggregates are a condition of bondage. Nibbana is the ultimate freedom. It is the far shore, the island in the storm, the shelter, the place of safety, the ultimate refuge. Okay, now you can relax and end the session rubbing the palms and then massaging face, back of the neck, down the shoulder blades, then down the lower back, then to the buttocks, and then down to the knees. And if you've been sitting cross-legged on the mat, you take the feet and the toes. Okay, so we're going to do now the sharing or dedication of the merit. So we invite the Dharma protecting devas to observe our practice throughout this day. And the nagas, the dragon spirits, and all other invisible sentient beings, and our departed relatives, friends, and we offer the merits up to them, and then I'll recite the verses for sharing the merits. Akasata cha bhumata devanaga mihidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu sasanam. Akasata cha bhumata devanaga mihidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu desanam. Akasata cha bhumata devanaga mihidika punyanta manumoditva chirang rakantu mankarang. Dukha pata jani dukha bhaya pata jani bhaya soka pata jani soka antu sabe pipanino. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. And then we can do 3 bows. We do first 3 bows to the triple jump. 1, 2, 3.
And about to Bhante Bodhi.
Okay.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you,
Okay.
Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, so
See you, Bhante. Have a long night.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bhante.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
great
Thank you,
retreat,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Hi, everyone. You, Bhante.
Okay.
Good night, Bhante.
Okay.
Thank
So
you,
I have
Bhante, for the great retreat.
Bhante.
Okay, so please remember I have 2 weeks off. So but you continue your practice. Don't think that if I'm not there that you can just slack off and drop your practice, but you can continue. And if you found this contemplation of non-self useful, you could bring it in from time to time. I find it helpful to bring in, if I'm doing like mindfulness of breathing, then just for a couple of minutes at the end of a session, just to sort of reflect back on the practice and just go quickly through, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself.
Thank you so much, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
Be well, Bhante. Enjoy your break.
Thank you.
Thank you
For the
very
guidance,
much.
Bhante, as always.
Very, very soon.
Okay.
Namo
Good
Buddhaya.
rest.
Teruvan Saranai.
Good
Okay.
health,
Have a
long
great
life,
night.
Bhante. Enjoy.
You, Bhante.
Okay. Okay.
Teruvan
Take care.
Saranai.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Bhante.
everything you've done for the world.
Okay. Take
Thank you for
care.
everything, Bhante.
Okay. So we come again, I think it's April 3rd on a
April
Wednesday.
3rd. Yes,
And then we
April
start
3rd.
the sutta classes April 6th, I think.
Yes. Thank you, Bhante. Namo
Okay. Take
Buddhaya.
care. Okay.
Good
I'm going
night.
to sign off
Take care.
now.
Good
Thank
night.
you, Bhante. Thank you.
Okay. Good night.